You are listening live to the Extreme Movie Show, special edition called RIP for Rutger Hauer. Tonight we're going to review some of our favorite films, what we remember about Rutger Hauer, and what we like. We are coming to you live from Yankee Stadium. It's the bottom of the ninth, and they're pummeling the Red Sox 22-4. And there's 2 outs left. And there's another single. Eric, how are you this evening?
I'll better unless that actually happens.
Dr. Englentine, good evening, sir. Stranger, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful.
How are things out there on the cow pasture? Have you been having to inseminate any animals there during your practice?
Actually, no, I've been following my poll I posted the other day about which is better, Miller or Budweiser. And surprisingly, there's a lot of Buds out there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Miller's for Midwest people.
Yes.
Flyover country.
Hey, you got to go with Miller Brewery. It's in my home state, man. I got to support
Well, if you say so, sir.
I got to support it, man. It's great beer. MGD, you can't get past that.
Well.
So we're introducing, this is called Beergate.
No, stop it. Stop it. I will say that as E decides to say hello, good evening, sir.
Hey, fellow film buffs. How you doing?
And fellow cinephiles.
And fellow cinephiles, true believers.
Go ahead.
Mouseketeers, the whole 9 yards. Whatever I'm on right now, because I've been doing a lot of live streaming videos all day. Well, in the last few hours.
I've been really wanting to do a stream where I do the smooth R&B voice, but I don't think tonight's a good one for that. So I'd love to do a ladies only stream, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. So.
Oh yes, it's ladies' night. Rutger Hauer, we're dead. All right, we're talking about his movie.
Ladies' night, and he's dead.
Yeah, it doesn't fit.
No, it doesn't. So I just want to make a quick mention that we've got Top 10 Tuesday coming up. What year is that, sir?
We are on 88.
1988. Be There, Be Square, Tuesday night.
That is, by the way, I believe the year of the Die Hard.
Yep.
Yeah.
True.
Where Bruce Willis plays a cop known as Die Hard.
And it's during Valentine's Day.
Yeah,
and they're in the mall.
Right.
And it is not an Easter movie.
No, they have a machine gun.
They have the robots in the mall that shoot people up when...
Chopping Mall. Gotta love that movie. Gotta love it.
I just want to say this in all seriousness as we get on to Rutger Hauer, because we're not trying to treat Rutger Hauer lightly. I don't want anybody to get that impression if they're just dialing in as we do it. Obviously, Jay's familiar with us and Christy. What's up, fools? Well, nobody's going to answer you because nobody in here is a fool. So, anyway. Tell him 29. One movie I enjoyed Rutger Hauer's was Blind Fury. Sir.
Watched it today.
Hold that thought. I just want to make a special note out. They dropped a brand new show. Don't know when we're going to do another one, but be on the lookout for it because I've actually gotten as much feedback on this as any show that we've ever done in the 3 months we've been live. And that was the history of popcorn on the show, stacking it.
I knew you're going to say that.
You know what? I was checking out the metrics today, running through all the business figures down here in the command center of the Pinehurst Palace in the underground control bunker. And I noticed that it has the highest hit rate. It's got one of the biggest watch times. It's soon to be our #1 video if that trend continues. So maybe YouTube might find their algorithm popping this up on something. Now, it is different because of the tags. It doesn't fall into the movie review and all that. So that's why we gave you the history of popcorn. Or I should say E so graciously did that. There may be a volume 2 of this coming because if it's as popular as that, we're going to definitely do another one. And you know what? We are foodies. Some of us are. I know I am. I know E is. Eric, I assume you are, or do you not give a shit?
No, I can eat.
You're a candy guy. I know that. And, Dr. Englentine, when he's not, dealing with farm animals out there in the Midwest, he likes to eat and he likes to drink Miller beer, so there must be something to talk about. Maybe we'll talk about what the best beer is and the best drink to have in the movie since we had the best snack. So that being said.
Or I would say the best barbecue.
Well, that's another one of those too. Rutger Hauer passed away recently, and he's somebody that has obviously been quite prolific in his career. I believe he was 75 when he died. I think it was earlier this week. So tonight we just wanted to basically celebrate the joy that he's brought us through the film and talk maybe about a movie or two each that we liked. I'm sure there'll be some crossovers with it because obviously, and I'll go first, him starting off was in the Hollywood cinema was Nighthawks. And so I just think that's the appropriate place to start because I was a huge Sylvester Stallone fan. And this is something where I saw Stallone in and went, okay, I get what's going on, but I don't get what this Rutger Hauer guy is doing, and I'm a child. So this, I guess you could say, efficient. Now that I'm thinking about, is my first terrorism movie. I liked it. So I'm sure you guys are familiar with it. E, let's start with you. What did you remember about Nighthawks? What would you like to say?
Well, obviously, to me, we were about the same age, so we both saw this on HBO when it came out. HBO, God bless that stuff in the 1980s. But for me, it was like, oh wow, Lando Calrissian's in another movie, and it was rated R. So at first, my mom and dad they didn't let me watch it, and
That's for adults, son.
yeah, and then it was like they forgot I was in the room, so I'm watching this thing, and it was scary. It was an actual. He was, to me, he played a really, really evil guy, and of course it's Rutger Hauer, so he's got that kind of quiet voice, those piercing blue eyes, and I really loved this film. I thought it was just gripping at the time. I watched it as an adult and I liked it, not as much as I did as a kid, but I still enjoy the heck out of it. And it's kind of weird to see Billy D. Williams not play Lando Calrissian sometimes.
Hey, I'm Billy D. Williams, and I've got my Colt 45. Yeah.
But yeah, but as far as Rutger Hauer in the film, I was legitimately scared of him.
Yeah, he has a certain presence, I'd say, about him. Easy E is with us tonight. The Jam, sir. What did you have to say about Nighthawks?
Well, this won't impress you guys because I know you live in the theater, but Nighthawks is the only movie I went to the theater to see 3 times.
Well, actually, I think you bring up a good point there because E's seen everything. I saw a lot of stuff up to a certain point, almost see nothing now. And to see a movie a second time back in the day was huge. So let alone 3 times, and I'm not exaggerating here, was massive, especially with all the Avengers talk about them having to re-release it. When you adjust it for inflation, you actually talk about ticket sales and population counts with Gone with the Wind. It's still a no contest. Everyone's butthurt that Gone with the Wind's still #1. But for you to see it 3 times, what made you want to go back and see it?
I just remember the first time I saw it, I thought, wow, this guy killed the girl that Greg Brady hit on in the Kings Island episode of Brady Bunch.
That bastard.
I mean, the emotional significance of that should stand out to everybody.
And then the scene on the the rail car, when I've forgotten now if it was the guy or his wife that he killed, and they just tossed her body off of it, and they see it fall into the water, and and Rutger Hauer Associates goes, "This is so and so. Don't be whatever." He goes, "She has no maternal instincts." I go, man, this guy is awesome. And who didn't run around for the next couple of months going, Wolfgang? and when Stallone turned around, he go, "Hey, that's not the Bionic Woman."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just loved it.
That's right. That's right. Oh my goodness. No, it's definitely a good film. Doctor, tell me you've seen this movie.
I've seen it at least once.
It sounds like it's been a while.
Yeah, I was gonna watch it again earlier today, but I overslept. But I mean, this movie is like phenomenal. Like I said, like my favorite scene is still the helicopter, where Stallone's in a helicopter. He's like, and Rutger Hauer took over the trolley, and like in the air, the sky trolley, or whatever we call it. Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, you can't get away with this, the mayor, whatever he was, he took control of or hostage. He kills the guy's wife. And he's like, "Get her out of here!" And like, and you just throw. You see like this mannequin being falling from the trolley down to the water.
Between this movie and Blue Thunder with Roy Schreider a few years later, and of course, For Your Eyes Only, a little overlooked theme that happened real briefly there, and there's probably more to this, was a lot of helicopter foo.
Yeah.
Well, and just the way Stallone's dressed in this, he looks like he's like channeling his inner El Pacino.
Oh, from Serpico, yeah.
Yep, yeah.
One thing I did, and you want to talk about, you notice that it's a mannequin that's falling and everything. The scene that Eric brought up was, of course, the ending where you see Rutger Hauer and he's outside and he's watching he's watching her move from place to place, and they never turn around or anything. But the scene where he walks up and he's obviously watching the woman. And then when he walks up and it's Sylvester Stallone, you can just watch the shoulders broaden because it's like so obvious at that point. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think it's a good movie just by itself, not just
Mhm.
because Rutger Hauer dead. We don't want to sit there and say, "Oh, he's dead." You have to watch his film, or all of a sudden he's going to be a lot better than what we remember. I mean, let's be honest. We covered Steven Seagal and Kicking It after Chuck Norris because it coincides with what we've talked about in the '80s and with our action film review. And yeah, Seagal's different than Norris. He's not the best actor in the world. His movies are set up for him. What we had talked about was there's a certain template and theme. And the one interesting about Rutger Hauer is he didn't necessarily in his films have a particular template. He had a lot of variety in what he wanted to do, but what he did well that I think we'll talk a bit more about towards the end here after a couple more films is that he had a certain intensity that he had with him. And you definitely could say that even if he was handed shit material or felt like something wasn't that good or was a B or C level movie, he really still brought everything. And you could tell that he was intentional in whatever role that he was playing. So without further ado, let's talk about another movie. I think you had one specifically almost around the same time I hear you wanted to bring up and discuss. I'll grace the floor with your presence to start that.
Well, I thought you were going to go in order, but the one that I saw today, because I was thinking that I know all of them. It's like, okay, I've seen all of them, but there's two I can't talk about because I just don't remember a lot. One of them I think it was called Wanted. I didn't catch that one, but what I did catch again was Blind Fury.
I wanted to talk about Blind Fury too, but I really honestly thought you were going to say Blade Runner. So which one would you like to discuss?
See. Okay, yeah, I thought you were going to bring that one up. So let's go to Blade Runner. Let's do them in order then. I'm fine with that because Blade Runner is the movie that I've told people time and again. I like it. It's okay, but it's not the greatest thing since sliced bread. I don't see it. It's slow. It's slow. And it's really freaking slow. But there's no way I'm going to talk bad about Rutger Hauer's performance in this. As a matter of fact, all the performances are good. I put this solely at the feet of Ridley Scott for why I'm not the biggest fan of the movie. I think Batty was just a great character, and in my opinion, and I don't think it's my opinion, I just think it's a fact that he will always be remembered for this character. This is his magnum opus.
All right, yeah, I know I've been using that term a lot lately too. Best movie, whatever you want to call it. I like to overdo it a little bit. Eric, what about you with Blade Runner and Rutger Hauer?
I gotta agree with Englentine. I've seen it one time. It'd probably been out for 30 something years before I did. Mm-hmm. I liked him in it, but as far as I couldn't carry on a Blade Runner conversation to get out of jail.
Right. It is a slow film. There's no doubt about it. His performance, obviously, he's known for that. Everyone always goes back and says, "Oh, he was."
He's an amazing character. He's amazing in it. Look, like I said, I don't like the pacing. I think now it doesn't bother me. Doesn't have music. I've seen movies without music. And it doesn't bother me. The voiceover didn't even bother me. I'm not a big fan of the whole controversy about, well, he's a replicant. No, because at the end we see, or in the police station, we see Edward James Olmos just leaving Origami around just willy-nilly. He was just saying he was there and he let her live, nothing more. But then, of course, but there's the dream. That stuff always bothered me. But you got to admit that end scene, that fight scene between Harrison Ford and Rutger Hauer is friggin' awesome. The whole thing, as soon as the movie actually started taking itself serious, or anytime it really did, it was really cool. It was those moments between that just dragged. I didn't mind his Harrison Ford's verbal back and forth with the stripper. I didn't mind the scenes with Sean Young sometimes, but sometimes they were just dull. Get to it already. But that final scene is one of the most intense fight scenes on film. I got to give it to him. And I do believe a lot of it has to do with Rutger Hauer's performance. Come on, when he busts his head in the wall and Harrison Ford hits him, and he looks at him and he goes, "That's the spirit." That is an awesome way of. That's an awesome line reading.
You know, Ridley Scott and Michael Mann from Miami Vice. I know we got a lot of Don Johnsonites in here and Philip Michael Thomas fans, but a lot of rain in their movies. And that's what I remember about Rutger Hauer in here. Just a lot of rain falling off his face as he's talking.
Well,
So, Doctor, what about you? What did you think about Rutger Hauer?
Blade Runner is a really long movie, yes. It's kind of had the same kind of above the law treatment, right? It's slow paced. There are good scenes in it, yes. Visually appealing. Like I said, the best with Rutger Hauer is whenever you see him, he doesn't have to say a word. The way he looks, the guy's 6 feet tall, blonde hair, and he just has that look where he's like, he's a psychopath. Like, he's gonna kill you. It's like in this movie. So, I mean, I'm sure he's a nice, sweet guy, but he just has that natural face. He looks like the person that would kill you, and it would not consciously, bother him. But
I never understood why.
The dude
Austin Powers were referred to them as the freaky deaky Dutch, and why he made them the whole bad angle and stuff like that. But whenever I think of Dutchmen or I think of the Great Danes, not just the dogs, Rutger Hauer comes to mind.
Some people have dubbed him as the Dutch Paul Newman of films.
It's he's and the speech, by the way, is iconic.
Yes,
it's not just something that was well written or anything. It is an iconic scene, and he deserves all the accolades for it. I've seen things you people wouldn't believe: attack ships on fire in the shoulder of Orion. I watched sea beams glitter in the dark near Tannhauser Gate. All those moments will be lost in time like tears in the rain. Time to die. Excellent speech, and he delivered it perfectly. And that, I think, that speech alone is why I think that this is his most iconic role, and always will be.
Yeah, he had about 15 or so films or performances under his belt just in that area alone before he even really hit Nighthawk. So, I mean, it's not like today where somebody can be 12 years old, be in a movie for 5 seconds, and they're a massive Instagram star, YouTube star, influencer, or any of these other bullshit terms that we throw around today, or whatever branding you want to put on it. So to see somebody that had that kind of ability to deliver that, and I don't even necessarily consider the replicants in this movie bad guys per se, like a distinct villain. That's one of the interesting things about Blade Runner to me. But Rutger Hauer, you guys are right, absolutely perfect for that role too.
He's perfect as doing the villains. I mean, he has that, like I said, the way he talks, he's tall, it's like he looks like the guy. He's the guy he's perfect for doing villains. He's always been that way. Blade Runner, Hitcher, Nighthawks. I mean, he's like Anthony Hopkins. Anthony Hopkins is always great at being the roles, as the creepy roles, and that's what Rutger Hauer does.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of Hitcher, I believe you're next.
Hitcher. This is a movie I did bring up in my
for those that may not have seen it yet. Can you briefly describe what happens, or what it's about, or how would you describe it to somebody that's never heard it, especially if you're a new listener?
The TV guide version. How can you wrap this up in a TV guide 1 sentence kind of thing?
It'll pull you in all different directions.
Right. Yeah.
Because nobody hitchhikes anymore like they used to. Let's be honest.
Young man drives across country, meets new friend. This is a movie about C. Thomas Howell. He is driving cross country and picks up a hitchhiker. And it's Rutger Hauer, and he decides that he's going to torture C. Thomas Howell. And he does that by getting him into all sorts of trouble with the law, threatening everybody who C. Thomas Howell seeks help from, killing people that tried to help him as well. It is one of the most intense road movies you're ever going to see. It's a really good horror film. Do not see the remake. This is a film, one of those that it just ratchets up every scene. There's never a point where it's like, okay, we got you on a high now. We're going to get you on a low so we can bring you back on a high. This is all climb, all the way up to the to 11. Yeah, all the way up to 11. This one goes up to 11.
No, I saw the remake. I'm trying to remember it. Was the station wagon in the remake, or is that the original? Family?
Yeah, there was a family in this one.
In the original, in the station wagon.
It's creepy as hell too, because you see the family pass by, and then you see Rutger Hauer just kind of pokes his head out, like you'll see the kids playing, and he just kind of pokes his head and does, just so C. Thomas Howell could see him. It is, it's very intense. It really is.
It's a very violent movie.
Yes.
Well, it's a typical, kind of 80s slow burn. I know some of us like slow movies and some of us don't, but definitely for here it works, and it's not, most of the buildup I wouldn't say is over the top for it. So Eric,
but the slow in Hitcher, it builds tension. The slow in Blade Runner fills space, and that's the big difference.
I understand. I agree with you. One's a drama, one's more of a thriller. So, Eric, obviously you didn't see this in a theater 3 times. What did you think of it?
No, but I do. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I do remember, like I said, the scene with Jennifer Jason Leigh. Obviously, that everybody remembers. I mean, that was that was intense to say the least. But the thing, and this has nothing to do with Rutger Hauer, but when I saw that movie, I thought, this C. Thomas Howell kid is going to be a huge star, and it never happened.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen him in just some of the, just most throwaway roles over the years, and occasionally he'll get like a one episode, role on a quality show. But it's like, I was wondering, I said, why didn't this guy make it?
He ended up doing Skinamax movies.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was weird because was Soul Man that bad?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, it was.
Because I despised it then, and I didn't really start hating movies until about E.T. And so Soul Man, I know, Soul Man is everything that's wrong with the 80s as far as just, okay, we're going to 80s everything. I'm going to go in blackface, and I'm going to die. And I don't even remember the damn movie. I just remember looking at that and going, this is even unbelievably stupid by my standards. And yes, I can put that off to the side if we're watching Invasion USA or something, or anything over the top 80s, but not Soul Man. But no, I really honestly don't know what happened to him. So, I mean, and I think it's interesting, Eric, you mentioned that you said you hadn't seen it in a really long time. There's a lot of these that I've not seen in a very long time myself. So what's interesting when, like, say you're mentioning that, or say when a doctor maybe hasn't, or he's seen something brand new for the first time, and when you haven't seen something for a long time, you kind of have a tendency just to remember the stuff that just jumps right back out at you. And for you said the Jennifer Jason Leigh scene or whatever. That's all we'll have to say about that. Watch this movie, everybody. It's fantastic. Doctor, what about you?
This movie was great. The remake, they basically just gender flipped C. Thomas Howell character and made it a girl. Try to make it a little more personal, more scary because it's a guy.
But it doesn't work.
It doesn't.
It sucks. Don't watch it. Watch the original.
Here's why gender flipping. Now they probably thought because the final girl, right?
Yeah.
The final girl of all the slasher films, you feel for her, you want her to win. Oh, so if we get the final girl and we just have her all the way through it, it's going to be awesome, right? No, because one of the biggest things about the original film is that Jennifer Jason Leigh scene. You care for her. And yes, a lot of times people will care more for the victim if it's a woman than if it's a man. And that is such an integral scene. That is such an important scene to this movie that when you gender flipped it, it actually weakened it. Sad to say, but I do believe that's true.
Well, something else. When you're watching the original, you're getting all the way through the movie, you're going, this guy could actually win. It might end with, with Rutger Hauer's character, winning. And in the remake, that, like I said, final girl never dies.
Yep. Plus it's Sean Bean.
That's right. He dies in everything, doesn't he?
Yep.
Oh my God, the guy that just killed him in the Yankee Red Sox game. Man. That was
Yeah.
You guys ever watched the 1996 Omega Doom film with him?
Well, we're going to go in order for a couple of them, because he's had a ton of films, so we just want to highlight some of them, because, I think the next one we would want to talk about is one that was mentioned already in chat. It's one I know that I fondly remember, and I remember this the only time I ever saw Ebert have an orgasm on screen, and that was Blind Fury. So, Blind Fury.
Okay, we'll talk about this, but you skipped over Lady Hawk, so we're going to go back to that.
Yes, that one, yeah.
Blind Fury, I did watch today because I was like, I don't remember. I remember enjoying it, but I don't remember specifics. So I watched it. Oh my gosh, it's such a great film, and it is 1980s all over the place. It really is. Even though it's like it's 1989, it's right at the end of the decade. It is 80sing all over the place, and it's just thoroughly entertaining. It's thoroughly enjoyable. It's absolutely ridiculous because there's a whole bunch of times where you got him fighting like 16 guys with guns, but they're not even bothering lifting them. Instead, they'll run up to try to hit him with it, so he could cut him with a sword. And I've got to say something. We haven't talked too much about this, and I do believe we need to bring him up. You talk about Seagal, you talk about Van Damme, you talk about Chuck Norris, but there's a guy in the 80s who deserves all the accolades, and because he's been a villain in damn near everything, including Fletch as Ben Dover. His name's Randall Craig Cobb. He's the big guy in damn near
Cobb, yeah.
He's the big guy in every freaking movie, and he's in this one as well. Yes, I love that guy. That's just such a fun film. It's not something I'm going to say, hey, it's a great movie as in, like The Godfather. This is a great film as in you sit down, you got your snacks, you got your drink, it's on, and you're going to have a great time for the next hour and a half to 40 minutes or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's Matthew Broderick. I didn't see it, so the only thing that made me want to see it is maybe because he was in it. But I'm looking at the wiki now, and Alan Parsons Project looked like they were involved in the soundtrack. That might have made it interesting as far as the sound of it, because I do like that as far as 80s movies. If I'd known that, I might have actually given it a chance. But yeah, Matthew Broderick, I was like, no, thank you. Just like Soul Man. Anybody?
Wait, Matthew Broderick?
You said Lady Hawk, correct?
Oh, yeah, no, but we're talking about Blind Fury.
Yeah. Well, I'm not up to Blind Fury yet. I'm talking about Lady Hawk. So.
Well, I just did my whole thing about Blind Fury, dude.
Well, that's where I was confused because I skipped over Lady Hawk because it was Matthew Broderick.
Yeah, but no, I'm Blind Fury is the one I'm talking about. So absolutely, and it's got Terry O'Quinn as well, and Meg Foster, who always weirds me out. She was also in They Live, but those blue eyes just always kind of weirded me out a little bit. But yeah, Blind Fury is just a ton of fun. It really is.
Eric, you've seen Blind Fury, I take it?
I have not.
It's, the Japanese, I guess, had a whole bunch of films about a blind swordsman. It's like a thing going on for a while. And I guess this is one of the last films technically in that series that I guess maybe they were trying to make a lot of money here in the States with it. And Rutger Hauer in it, he's fantastic. He does a very good job of just looking like he's blind. They have some of the silly comedy stuff in it or whatever that I guess was in the earlier type films. But it's the best blind swordsman movie of all time.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a category?
Actually, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it is, actually. The blind swordsman Zatoichi, or however you say it, is pretty awesome, too. But this is a thoroughly entertaining film.
Yeah, it's worth a watch. It's got Shoko Sugi in it, who's always playing ninjas.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. I mean, they brought out the big names for that, and Tim Matheson directed it apparently. So thank you. No, but it's worth a watch. Doctor, have you seen this movie?
No, I haven't. I've only watched Blade Runner and Nighthawks and The Hitcher. I haven't really gone back to go watch over his stuff.
Mm-hmm. This deserves its own kicking it.
Yeah.
It does. No, and
really
he's right about that. So let's mark it for that. I mean, that's blind swordsman. I mean, come on. There's a scene in there where he's like eating a burrito or a taco or something or something in a restaurant, and a guy comes up to him, a little thug, and he's like, "Hey," and he's like waving his hand in front of his face. He's like,
"Yeah.
You need some sauce with that taco, man. Do you want it hot or do you want it really, really, really spicy?" And Rutger's just, the good thing with his voice is he can sound like a bitch. He's like, "Well, I guess a bit mild would be okay." And so the guy dumps all the super hot Diablo fire shit in it, and he eats it. And then in Rutgers Hauer fashion, everyone starts laughing and giggling at him because he starts like, almost coughing. And the guy says something to him, and he's like, "Well, I think it's mild enough." And then he accidentally, beats the shit out of him and all his buddies because they start messing around with this lady in her purse and all that too. And you're like, okay, womp, womp, womp. It's going to be one of these kind of movies. But again, he does it in such a way where you're like, okay, it's believable. You know, he acts it that well, but it's worth watching. Again,
Yeah.
it's a bit lighthearted in a way with just enough action in it. So
The first time I saw Rutger Hauer even discovered of an actor was Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the original one with Kirsty Swanson.
right.
That's my first appearance where I actually saw him. He was the villain. So then I went back. I watched Lady Hawk. I watched Blade Runner because my dad was a big fan of that. So I watched that. You know, there is a couple.
You're talking about Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which was a movie first with Kirsty Swanson.
Yep.
We've mentioned before on our Top 10 Tuesday with Deadly Friend. So you said you saw that movie first with Rutger Hauer.
Yes, because I remember the early '90s. That's when this Josh Whedon made the Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So I went back to saw there's a movie. So I'm like, oh, we'll watch this movie. You know, I want to see what the series is based off of. And the movie was actually better than the series.
I like the movie. A lot of people put it down because, of course, it's more comedy than what the series was. But I thought the movie was fine.
You hear Luke Perry in there. I was like I thought it was one of Luke Perry's best roles.
And Pee Wee Herman.
Yep.
He plays one of the villains. Kill him a lot. Yeah, so that was thoroughly an entertaining film. I liked it.
I mean, the one guy, his best friend, Luke Perry's best friend, gets stabbed. Like, you know, he becomes a vampire. And he's like, ooh, and still to the end of the credits, he's still going. He still hasn't died yet.
That's Paul Rubin. That's Pee Wee Herman.
Oh, is that really? I never knew it was Paul Rubin. But after I saw that, I watched Surviving the Game.
Hold on.
So I'm just saying.
About Buffy right now. So so that was the order you went in. Okay, you started here, went back, then you went forward.
We are going to be going back to Lady Hawk as well.
I'm just saying, like, those are the movies I watched most with him. With these more popular movies. I never heard of Blind Fury. I didn't see, because most movies I watched were at Blockbuster. So, and I did not see Blind Fury at Blockbuster. So maybe it wasn't that great, apparently, or popular. Maybe. It
was a very small film. It wasn't a huge blockbuster of any imagination.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer, though, was kind of a smaller film, and then it obviously got some legs. And I think this is when like video got to be popular and everything there too. Eric, do you have any thoughts about Buffy?
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I just, I remember some of the people in it, and I was thinking that, maybe Dad decided to show his son how to do vampire comedy.
So before we go further chronologically, after Buffy the Vampire Slayer, apparently he wants to go back and talk about Lady Hawk. So E, go ahead.
Yeah, Lady Hawk was actually one of my favorite films of 1985. I had it on my list, at least in the runner-ups. But I remember seeing this at the Rocking Chair Theater. You remember that one, the Colonial Plaza?
Mm-hmm.
And we got one of those newspaper things where you could go see it a week beforehand.
Yes.
Just thoroughly enjoyed this film. I now watching it as an adult, where you're thinking more about everything. There's a lot to it, and I know about the behind the scenes. It was a passion project of Richard Donner. He met his wife there. He wanted this movie to be a certain thing, and he just kind of didn't get it. Like Alan Parsons Project made a really weird score to it.
Well, you say weird, I would say progressive, and these guys are heavyweights. They go back to the Beatles and everything else. I mean, they're basically one of the top names in all of music. I
mean, weird for a sword and sorcery kind of movie.
Yeah,
it's just an all over the place kind of mishmash of a movie. Everything. You've got English accents, you've got a Brooklyn Jewish accent, you've got a California native accent, and those are the three leads.
Yeah.
And and for some reason it still comes together and manages to be a fun film to watch. And I really thought, even though they're not on the screen a lot together, that Rutger Hauer and Michelle Pfeiffer actually have a lot of chemistry.
Yeah.
Eric, did you see it?
I didn't.
I wasn't. If I saw it, which I may have, I just do not recall any of it at all. So, Doctor, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, everyone always remembers Rutger Hauer made the project for this film, but I'm like, I remember Michelle Pfeiffer. She was hot in this movie.
Oh, hell yeah. Well, she was just hot in the 80s.
I know.
As a matter of fact, got news for you guys. She's still kind of hot now. So, yeah, but it's an entertaining film. It gets a lot of shit these days because of all the stuff that happened behind the scenes, but it doesn't deserve it.
Yeah, their
It
place.
definitely deserves a watch.
I remember this movie because I remember they were two lovers were placed a curse on them. So when during the day,
Yeah.
she was a hawk, at night he was a wolf.
Yeah, she becomes a hawk during the day, and he becomes a wolf at night. At one point, even I remember he falls in a lake, and Matthew Broderick ends up saving him, getting all cut up from him. Yeah, entertaining film. Good action scenes. It's Richard Donner. He's a good director.
He was the action guy, director in the 80s.
Yeah, he's the Goonies, the Superman movies, obviously. So yeah, absolutely worth it. Like I said, it's worth a watch at the very least. I enjoyed it enough that I've seen it multiple times, and I will see it again. I'm actually kind of wanting to see it right now.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because when you talk about movies that whether I like them or you like them or they're slow or they're fast, a lot of times I think rewatchability adds something to a movie, even if the movie's not that good. Because hey, seeing a movie, one time and it's a fantastic movie, but you don't ever want to see it again. You're like, screw that, it's too heavy or too dull. I think that says a lot about a movie. And to me, unfortunately, as we start to go through the 90s here, this next movie, which I would call a Gary Busey vehicle, is one where I said, okay, all this rap stuff that all of a sudden got super hot in the 90s about cop killers with Ice-T, and it just became this thing, that and grunge, and it was like, God, the 90s are going to suck. And this movie, Surviving the Game, that came out in 1994, has got Rutger Hauer as a guy basically hunting the black guy. And,
it's the deadliest game all over again.
It is. It's, we're talking about, the riots we were having in LA with the O.J. Simpson thing, and whatever you want to say about Clinton and how you feel about politics. It just was like, this movie was just stupid. It was dumb. I wanted to like it better, but it really, to me, wasn't that good. I don't remember too much about it other than Ice-T was so bad. Even Rutger Hauer, as good as he was, couldn't carry him. And Gary Busey, this is a perfect Gary Busey vehicle. And if it was just Gary Busey and Rutger Hauer, probably be 5 or 6, sequels into it right about now. But what do you remember about it?
I remember thinking exactly what you're saying, except for it had an element of fun. First of all, they didn't lean into the race thing.
True.
Charles S. Dutton was there. Also, they didn't lean into it.
Rock.
It wasn't
for the hip people.
Yeah, and even though yes, it was basically what they did was they offered him money. He was homeless, and they offered him money to be their prey. So if he can make it, they offered him this much money to come and listen, but you get this much money if you actually survive the evening. And I thought it was a decent film. No. How about this? It's a decent distraction. I could say that much about it. Everybody was serviceable. I thought that Rutger Hauer, Gary Busey, Charles Dutton, John C. McGinley, a young Johnson C. McGinley's in it as well. And, I thought they were all decent. They know how to act. They can carry a movie. Unfortunately, they put the lead. They had Ice-T, and he wasn't there yet. So, yeah, I could see why you didn't like it. But I thought it was at least a decent distraction.
I thought there's some good scenes with Ice-T, though. Getting payback. They're kind of funny.
Eric, did you see this one?
I'm on a roll.
Oh, no, he hasn't seen this one either. I agree with
You're not
Eric.
missing much, but if it's on and you want to watch it one night, he said the perfect word. It's serviceable.
Yeah. I would. I'm gonna second Eric Breen. If you are watching this, tell us what your favorite Rutger Hauer films are as well. Become a part of the conversation, please. There you go. Anyway, next.
Surviving the Game. It's just at this point in the early 90s, it's becoming clear that despite as bad as it may seem like we were ragging on Seagal and nobody wanted to listen to what we were having to say about Out for Justice, Out for Justice looks like an Oscar winner compared to some of this stuff, being put out in the 90s. And
Surviving the Game was better than Out for Justice.
No, oh, you're fucking insane.
Alfred Justice has
Have you
one.
been talking to Dalton too long? Because he might think that. I don't know, but it's not.
Alfred Justice has one good scene in
No,
the opening.
No.
The opening scene of Alfred Justice, where he throws the guy through the windshield, and then he walks by and it goes, Steven Seagal. That is the best scene in the movie. Get up, walk out of the theater. You're not going to
Come
get
on.
that.
When he's going against Richie, he's like, I love pain. So then 5 minutes, Richie gets pain.
Yes, he does, and so does the audience.
Surviving the game. I will take on Surviving the Game versus Out for Justice in the first ever Xtreme Thunderdome, whatever the hell you want to call it, because that is bullshit. And I don't want to get too mad. We're trying to just eulogize Rutger in a positive way, and I don't want to get sidetracked.
Let's go then. Yep.
So is this next Sunday? Stream movie Thunderdome?
Anyway. So I think for me, it's kind of hard to, after about 94 or so of Surviving the Game, to sit there and say, movie-wise, what do we want to discuss with him? Because he's got a whole bunch of them. And frankly, looking at the titles a lot right now, I'm going, they're probably just a bunch of small films or, video on demand types, direct-to-DVD types.
Let me take a look as the resident movie expert here.
He does have a lot of 90s. He did a lot of TV series or documentaries, or he did TV movies.
He's an extremely active guy, but the next movie for me would be Sin City.
Hold on just a sec. Let me check this out.
You skipped Omega Doom.
Yes, I did.
Okay, where are we here? We are
we were in 1994.
Oh, in 1985, he did another film with Jennifer Jason Leigh called Flesh and Blood, which I got to admit I watched because it said nudity in the HBO guide, but it actually turned out to be a pretty good story, a good kind of medieval sword and sorcery sort of film that I could recommend. Well, not sorcery, but it was kind of a medieval movie where they play pirates and they go and they pillage and rape towns. And Rutger Hauer is this band, the leader of a band of villains, and he kidnaps Jennifer Jason Leigh, and she ends up falling for him. So yeah, that one actually ended up being pretty good. Wanted Dead or Alive is another one that I saw and I liked, but in all honesty, I don't remember much about, except the villain was Gene Simmons in that one. You never saw it, Rob?
No, and I've not seen Omega Doom, which Doctor, you said you saw?
No, I didn't see it. I'm on his IMDb page, and it was supposed to be him going against a bunch of robots.
Yeah.
So apparently that's what the plot was. I mean, I was wondering if you guys seen that.
No. I guess that for me, the next one was really, out of all the stuff that he's done, would be Sin City.
In 1992, he did an actual good sci-fi film. It's and what I really liked about this one is it took place in London, but it was flooded. It's called Split Second. It's basically a him versus an alien movie. And I remember the ending, of course, took place underneath a building, and it really is basically Predator, starring Rutger Hauer, and it's cheesy as hell, low budget to the point where it probably cost $5 or $10 to make, but definitely worth a look. Going up a little bit, Surviving the Game. Okay, let's see what else we have. Actually, he kind of Omega Doom.
I want to know who's in a rainstorm right now.
Oh, that's me.
It was loud.
Yeah. It's coming down pretty good. We got a lot of good lightning coming on, but wow,
because that was a great sound effect. I'm like, did Rob get a sound?
I know, it's like Omega Doom.
Save that for Saturday nights.
Yeah, wouldn't that be awesome? But here we go. We got to talk about this for just a second. There was a TV remake of
Call of the Wild,
of Salem's Lot.
Oh, that one,
where he played the vampire in it. He played Kurt Barlow, and he did very well in that one as well. And then the next, it's Sin City.
And
no one else. No one's going to take that one, huh? Okay.
Oh, you're first. Go ahead.
Yeah.
All right. Well, he plays Cardinal Rourke, a pedophile, And this is something that has come out, and of course he has to kill everybody, or they decide to kill everybody who has learned this, and that leads to Marv having to basically exact revenge because one of the people they kill is the only person who showed Marv any kind of love. Now, Rutger Hauer's not in it for a long time, but the scenes he actually has a little one-on-one. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm Mickey Rourke. Yeah, he has a one-on-one with Mickey Rourke that is just a great actor scene. So yeah, I enjoyed this, and I enjoyed his role in it.
I gotta say, who was the girl in supposed to be love interest of Mickey Rourke in this? Was it
well, her name was Goldie. The character's name was Goldie.
Yeah, was it Bello? Was her last name? Was the actress Marcella Bello, or was it? Anyway, because when people bring up Sin City, because it's been a while since I actually watched that. I always remember Elijah Wood.
Jamie King.
Okay, and you had Elijah Wood being the creepy little guy with the glasses with the knives.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I remember the most of it. And then there was then the naked gold guy.
Yeah, but
Eric, you were next. I assume you've seen Sin City.
I have. I've seen both of them, but as far as I'm like Venkman. It's been a while, and I'm having trouble remembering anything past Jessica Alba and Eva Green.
Yeah,
I agree with you totally. When I think of Jessica Alba, I think of you would appreciate this being a baseball guy, Derek Jeter and his herpes tree, and I cannot see that from her anymore, even if she's doing the cowgirl scene or whatever. But that and Into the Blue, I think, came out at the same year the Sin City did. So while we're on Sin City, though, I did want to ask you guys, because I'm not really the comic guy here. I think it's really overrated as a film. I think the best part about it is the creepy bastard stuff. I mean, not that it's not shot well or it's got a unique look, but I frankly, was it Frank Miller or a guy, Daredevil guy, or I don't know whose name was on it. I mean, was it really as good as what people made it seem to be?
Wasn't Benicio del Toro in this too?
Yeah.
Yes, that's I remember that. See, it's coming back in spots. It's like Eric with the 90s.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. That's the thing. It's not a horrible movie. I liked it. It's got its moments. I think Sin City is overrated anyway, as far as a book's concerned. But I did like the way they did the movie. I thought, and the reason why I did like the way they made the movie is it's one of the few that really brings what's on the page onto the screen. They didn't try to make it any other way. They didn't try to change it so the director could put their stamp on it or anything. What you see is really the comic book brought to life. And so, yeah, I liked Sin City for that reason. The second one, not so much, but the first one definitely did that.
Now, I'll admit, here in the same year, I had actually seen the Dracula 3 and Dracula 3D much later and all that too. So, but there's really not much memorable to say about it. But I don't recall in 2005 too much of his scenes in it, but it says here that he was in Batman Begins. So, why don't you say what you remember about that, or is it worth talking about?
Not really, because he's in there for like a couple of scenes, but he has no real weight
Impact.
in the film. Yeah, if you want to end this on a high note, if you want to end this Rutger Hauer memorial on, we have to talk about one more movie, because
I know that's what we're building up to.
Yeah. And I'm just going to bring us right to it. And that's The Hobo with a Shotgun. That's the movie we should end this on, because this is the Grindhouse movie trailer that they made into a movie. Much like Machete, it started off as a parody trailer, and it ended up becoming a movie. So, Rob, why don't you start off on it? You've seen it, right?
Oh, I've seen it. I happen to like grindhouse story types, blaxploitation, the Hammer stuff from the 50s, 60s, and all that stuff. So to me, this is a naturally good fit to it. He's obviously older at this point, so he's cast well to it. It's got a neat look to it. It's got your over-the-top nonsense that you don't see too much in movies these days. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to say that, you compare this to a 70s film to say it's the same thing. It kind of is, but they don't make movies like that anymore. So for them to do one like that and have Rutger Hauer and to be somewhat the same as the other ones. I thought they did a good job of capturing it too. So if you like that type of a film, or if you're not sure what that type of a film is, this might be a good one to wet your teeth on before you get into like Blackula and some of the other stuff that's out there. Yeah, Eric, what about you?
I just remember, I found out about it from a guy that used to work for me, and he was into every, whack job movie you could think of from anywhere in the world. And he comes in when he goes, "Yeah, you gotta watch this movie called Hobo with a Shotgun." I go, yeah, Mike, here, go have a cookie.
Yeah.
And he kept badgering me and say, "All right, I'll do it." And I don't remember a whole lot about it, but I remember I absolutely loved it.
it's I don't know what year I would say SJW stuff started creeping in, rather, but this movie, just it's been a while, but I just remember he basically says, you know what, okay, I am who I am, and I'm gonna have to deal with that, and so are you, motherfuckers. And then he goes cannibalistic with it too. But I mean, Doctor, tell me you've seen this movie, please.
I've it's been a while since I watched it, but I'm going back and I'm looking at parts of it while you guys are talking, and yeah, there are a lot of great scenes in this. Just like when they're killing the homeless people inside the club, they're doing like arcade style.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
I mean, next and then the scene after is like the hobo. He goes to filmmaker and completes a series of degrading acts. Basically, he's including chewing glass to purchase a lawnmower. That's crazy. Like just putting glass in because the whole point is he wants to get the lawnmower.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. It's over the top, and it's not to say that he hasn't done other work that's worth talking about. I know there's some stuff that some of us don't remember or haven't seen compared to the other guests and hosts on here tonight. But yeah, well, let's do this. I'm going to go around and call each of you guys, and you say what would be the one film that you would say that if somebody hasn't watched Rutger Hauer, they would need to go see is. So let me start with you. What's the one Rutger Hauer film that you would have to select out of everything he's done that somebody would need to go watch?
I think the lightning killed him.
Yeah, it looks like it because he's here in channel. All right, Eric, what about you?
I have to go with Nighthawks because it's the one that I can, champion the most.
And to kind of piggyback on your point there, it's amazing how, like, you and I are the older men in the room necessarily now that he's dropped out. It's funny to me. It's not funny. It's just an observation that even though we've seen a lot of these films, we remember more about the performances of the movies that were cast, say, in the 70s or 80s than we do even later, even though we're older, can watch them, have a more critical eye, because I think performance-wise, they do have a tendency to stand up more. So I would agree with you. That would be my choice. I would say Nighthawks would be the one thing because it has an element of sinisterness in it, maybe intelligence, and it's all on display there. It's not just he's got one tone and all that. I think Nighthawks is fantastic. So Englentine had just dropped out too. That would leave you, Dr. Venkman. What would you say?
I would say watch Nighthawks first and then go in to watch The Hitcher. You can watch Blade Runner if you want to, but you're not going to see too much of his character till the end. But yeah, those are the two movies
there too.
Well, in addition to those, to get back to your point, Rob, the movies that we talk about from like the late 70s and the early 80s, not only do I think they were made better, but, and since we were around, we can speak to this. When you didn't have just the onslaught of entertainment options like you do today, the entertainment you did have exposure to, you were more into because you had to go get your entertainment as opposed. So yes, I like to tell people, when I was your age, Sonny, the only entertainment we could control was the record we put on our turntable.
That's correct.
If you missed a movie, you had to wait for the late show to show it again.
Yep.
And you had to go to the movies to see one. Now, when you can bring everything to you, it's easy to get distracted. It's easy to not retain. But like I said, but yeah, back 40 years ago or whatever. I mean, I said, I still remember, I know I saw it 3 times, so that helps. But yeah, I remember more of that than, like I said, Hobo with a Shotgun. I remember liking it, but I was trying to think, okay, was that the movie where he had the shopping cart? Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
I just don't really remember much of it, but yeah, the old stuff, it never leaves you.
It's true, and I think it has to do with two things. One, the emotional connection you get, but I think that's from the second thing, and that is you can have a great many number of items, but it comes down to economics and that supply demand. If you just increase the supply tenfold with number of shows, options, movies, podcasts, live streams, everything, the quality overall has to go down. I mean, that's just the nature of it, and there's only so much you can consume. So you'd think, I mistakenly thought when Ian and I started talking about movies before we even launched the Xtreme Movie Show here that we're talking about, is that I thought there'd be kind of like a war or a competition for quality that would actually increase. And I was really looking forward to, say, Stephen King's material getting made now, because financially it's easy to do it technology wise. But then Under the Dome was a flop, when this was a flop. Well, this was decent, but now he's got a record of a couple flops and some okay things. And without even knowing comics at all, it's the same thing to me. Blade was the ultimate Marvel movie, MCU, and without it, I don't think the rest of them get made. And that's where I stand on it too. But Doctor, you're much younger than us too. You bring the millennial perspective. What do you have to say about that?
As far as everything that's been going, yeah, sorry, I was actually a little busy. Please repeat the question.
For God's sake, pay attention.
We were talking about
I'm
basically
distracted by the streaming.
movies were better in the 70s or 80s, and yes, there were less of them, but now with the fact that there's so much out there, I was suggesting that perhaps the quality's gone down and people don't remember that much.
Yeah, like I said in the last stream, the movies made today are just like, okay, we can put on anything because we know they're gonna buy it regardless. We don't care, we're gonna make money. There's no passion, there's no creativity. If anything, they steal stuff from old stuff and they try to reincorporate it in their own movie and just call it a different title. It's like, I like when we were watching the Chuck Norris movies. I love the on location stuff.
Yes.
I mean, you don't see, it's different culture. You don't see people, the snotty girls on their phones, or you don't see any of that. You see people actually going out and actually being outside. They don't know what social media is. They're not like, oh, that's police brutality. You don't see people on their phones recording people. It's like, no, you actually get to see people in their natural habitat without them being, slaves to media and corporations like that.
But I will say that as much as your overall movie quality is diminished compared to, what we're talking, like, late 70s, early 80s and through the 80s, television is in a golden age right now. It's not on the networks, and it's kind of reaching towards the end of it. But if you think back, the last 10, 15 years, everything from Sopranos to The Americans and all the shows in between, whether it's The Wire or Breaking Bad or et cetera, et cetera. It's almost like those shows, they know they're not going to get as large an audience, so they are writing them smarter to capture a small but loyal fan base. And I know the movies weren't made for that, and this really has nothing to do with that. But
well, it's the same concept, and you're just talking about a different medium. So I agree with you.
I like to point out the fact that you watch TV, how it's evolved. It used to be where you had to watch everything on TV, and then you introduced cable, and then now cable has become obsolete. Now we're on to streaming. I mean, what's next?
I remember when we would hear, I'll never pay for TV. And the fact that that's what ended up happening is kind of weird.
Oh, I remember when they were predicting the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I had a blackout.
What was that, Eric?
I remember when they were predicting that by the year 1997, you're going to have to pay to watch the Super Bowl. And
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We thought the alligators got you, E.
No, the lightning did.
Yeah, so we would just basically, we were naming one or two Rutger Hauer films that we would suggest to anybody that are must watches and watch them first. So we had Nighthawks, and we said pretty much in agreement that should be about the first one. Do you agree, or is there another one that sticks out that somebody should watch first? If you had to pick one from Rutger Hauer's filmography, what would it be?
Hitcher. In all honesty, I think you get the best. Well, I don't know, either that or Blade Runner, but Hitcher, I think, is the first one that comes.
Yeah, that's what I said too. Those two movies definitely. You can watch Nighthawks and then go to Hitcher, and just then if you want to adventure more, go in the Blade. But you got to realize that Blade's a long movie. You don't see as much of Rutger Hauer as you do see in the previous two.
Yep. Yep.
And just Nighthawks, man, the way he handles himself is just like, he's badass. It's crazy. You almost cheer more for him than you do for Stallone.
Sounds like it'd make a good movie night.
Yeah, Nighthawks, I think we're all in agreement, was Xtreme.
Yes.
Hey, anything you need to plug, anything you want to let everybody know what's going on here as we wrap it up?
I think you got another blackout.
Eric, what about you? Anything you want to plug? Anything you'd like to get out there as we wrap it up?
Good, because he's not here to defend himself. Yeah, say, Englentine, thanks for cutting the legs out from under our Candy Gate stream last night.
Yeah.
Well, take that, whatever the hell that means.
Well, the reason why Venkman said he overslept today was because, the two of us and three other idiots were live streaming till about 5 in the morning.
For me, almost 4 for me. Yeah.
By the way, I said I woke up as the people that were coming to help me move stuff were turning onto my street.
Wow.
he's like, I gotta go look at my bed before I move someone else's bed.
Yeah, that did not end well.
Well, this goes with saying that, Rutger Hauer, we love him here on the Xtreme Movie Show. Definitely a lot of things to talk about. We covered just some of the movies that he's been in. Definitely highlighted a few of them that are must see, worth watching. I know you could see him anywhere. If you haven't, go see him. Right now, he's the kind of actor that we think about fondly, not just because he's passed or we feel that we're going to lose out on somebody that's provided us a lot of enjoyment over the years. But the other part of me kind of mourns also the fact that it's very rare to think that there's going to be an actor like that can have that type of, not necessarily range, I'll say acting wise, but his ability to convey a lot of emotion without talking too much, and a lot of different ones. A lot of people are good at doing just one or two things, a la Steven Seagal, Chuck Norris, but for what they do, that's fine. But Rutger Hauer, he was his own man on screen, had a good presence.
Mm-hmm.
Could do a lot of different things. He had a great deal of flexibility, and for that, he will be missed. So, Doctor, I'd like to say thank you for guest hosting, as usual.
I just want to point out the fact that Rutger Hauer and all these guys like Clint Eastwood, these guys are your man's bands, the way they grow up. So, this is the way. These Rutger Hauer, he served in the Dutch Navy,
Yep.
in his early 20s or late teens. You look at these autobiographies. You look what's going to happen when we die, or when the millennials die. What are they going to say? We're like, oh, this guy served. No, you're not going to see much like that as you see these people the way they lived, because times were different back then. So I find these guys more interesting. The fact that they grew up in these periods and all. Rutger Hauer was born in the 40s, so he was born in the middle of World War II. Right now.
Yeah, and to your point, also, I will add to that, being European, he had a bit of a different world sensibility, and coming over to the States is probably a pretty interesting venture for him. And you just have a different outlook when you're older, and you've seen a lot of stuff goes on. And I think a lot of times for Americans, we think history started the year we're born, but for us getting off the gold standard, in the early 70s, and a lot of people say that was basically a time frame when the shit really hit the fan, because the economy's messed up and has ever been since till now. You can argue that all you want, but I think you see it reflected in films about society, what's going on in America, and how quote unquote hard we have it. But yeah, good point there about Rutger Hauer and being, a man's man there too. Eric, any last thoughts?
No, I was just thinking that, Nighthawks would be a good movie to do one of those movie nights too.
I agree with you too. So Nighthawks is one. There's been one or two other suggestions some other people have. What we're trying to do is make sure we get enough people that are interested in seeing something. I think Nighthawks is a fantastic one. Definitely looking forward to doing some Stallone, which I know we'll be covering over on Kicking It. This is going to show up at least in a new channel called RIP for people that pass. Unfortunately, we're probably going to be adding to that a lot over the next few years. That being said, Rutger Hauer is a lot to enjoy. And for Englentine and Absentia, who's not here right now, I'd like to thank him for coming on too and providing his immense knowledge, which he has a ton of, more than anybody I know with movies. He's fantastic with it. You can find him over at I Love Comics. He's probably about 199,000 subscribers right now. The thing's growing like, wait, he just hit 200,000 so fast. Doctor, thank you as always. Eric, appreciate you coming in tonight as always. It was a lot of fun. I think we did a great job. I'm glad a lot of people were listening. To Christy, to Tellum, to Jay, to everybody in channel. Have a good night. And as always, gentlemen, what do?
Stay
extreme.
extreme.
Good night, everybody.